Hi, welcome back to Dare to Hair. I'm Matty D. In today's video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the process from whenever you first get a hair system all the way to application. Those are gonna be future videos, but in today's video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a template. And with a few tips and tricks that I'm getting ready to show you, I can show you that it's an easy process, that it doesn't have to scare you. So let's get started. Okay, the first method I'm going to show you is the Saran Wrap method, and it's probably one of the easiest to do for everyone. It just takes a couple of simple supplies. The first thing you need is some sort of cling wrap, clear packing tape, a marker to trace the outline for your template to be cut. All right, the first thing you want to do is take your Saran Wrap and make a nice tight connection between your head and so that you can get you a nice line. And yes, you will look silly when you do this, but this is a good way to make a template. So you want to pull it straight down, and then you want to tie it underneath your chin to make it nice and tight. Okay. And the reason why you want to use Saran Wrap and use the packing tape is so that obviously you get a nice see-through window to make your lines. Okay, the next step you want to do is take your packer's tape and start using a cross pattern and go one direction and then go back the other direction. And what you want to do is build up some layers of the packing tape so that whenever you make your template and you cut that, it's nice and thick. So when you send that in or to the hair system, you might send that in to make a template so you can have a pre-cut, or if you want to do it at home like I'm doing, this is what you'd want to do if you were going to try to make a new template. So what I'm going to do is take the packer's tape and go back and forth and show you how I do that. Okay, I've done one direction going this way, and so now I'm going to do it cross-directional going the other way to create a little bit of strength. And it's always good to, have a friend help you do this process. Okay, so now I have 2 layers of tape going across and back, and you can use as many as you want. I'm just using this as an example, so, but obviously the more layers that you use, the stronger that your template's going to be. So the next step I want to do is I've simulated the hairline here, and what you want to do is you want to take your marker, and then you don't want to come all the way to the edge here because you want to be able to stretch your system out a little bit to make it tight, but you want to leave just a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch line. And then what you want to do is you want to have somebody go through there and do that for you. And what you want to do is have them draw that line pretty much as close as you can to your existing hairline, but you don't want to make it overlap because that way, you know, you'll get glue inside your hair. So you want to be able to get it to where you have to stretch it a little bit because, for instance, my system is a poly unit. It's obviously made out of, you know, some plastic material, so it does have some give to it. So you want to have a nice little edge, you know, but nothing too, you know, like I said, you don't want to go into your hairline. So what I'm doing is here, and then what I've got here on these dots is the simulation of the simulated hairline that I want to do for this particular example. So what I would do is I would go from where the hairline is, and then I would go through there, and I would. So whenever you're doing this on your, you know, what you want to do is you want to look back at older pictures of yourself, or, you know, some type of deal. You don't want to come through here and have this line go make an unnatural arc. You know, for me, I have a receding hairline, so mine's going to come back and then it's going to make a C shape. So this in particular, this is what works for me. I know a lot of times they say to, you know, use the rule of 4 fingers, i.e. forehead. But for example, I have a shorter forehead, so mine actually comes out to 3 fingers. So it's going to be one of those things to where, you know, when you put the system on there, or you have somebody put it on, and, you know, you use the 4 fingers, you know, for the 4-finger system, sometimes that isn't totally accurate. So, you know, everybody's different, everybody's head shape's different. So, you know, you have to kind of adjust things as you go. So what I've done is I've gone through there and I've made my line to where I want my template. And I've made that line all the way around. And the next step would be to cut out the template. So now I've got me a nice pair of sharp scissors. What you want to do is obviously not cut, you know, with this thing on your head. So what you want to do is once you have that line and you're happy with that, take it off. And then as you can see, you know, when we applied the tape, that it's going to make see how it makes that shape already? And this is going to be, you know, it mimics the shape of the head. And so whenever you make that template and either you cut it or somebody else does, it's not going to, you know, be short or long because you've actually done that to the curvature of your head, because, you know, obviously that's this distance from here to here. If you laid that on a straight line, it would be a lot longer than what it looks. So get yourself a pair of sharp scissors, and what you want to do is you want to go along that line and you just want to cut. You know, and cut to the outside of the line if you have to, because, you know, you can always cut more material off, but you can't add any. So, you know, the old saying, measure twice, cut once, really applies here. So you just follow the line. And there you go. Get rid of the excess, and then you have a template that's made. It goes directly to your head. And I always advise maybe to make a couple of these. That way, if you do work with a company that you have to send it in, that you have an extra one just in case. I didn't do that the first time, and I wish I would have. So that would be, you know, a good tip right there is when you make a template, go ahead and make 2. That way, if something ever happens to your template, you've got a backup. And another tip too is once you make that, you know, it's real helpful to put a front and back on there. That way, whenever you know and whenever they know, They can put the, in case you have, a certain part or something like that with the hair system that you have, that they know where to line that up. And that's all there is to it. All right, the second method I'm going to show you is a lot of times whenever you get a new hair system, I'll show you, like, here's my new hair system from LeVivid, and I am super excited to try this thing out because I haven't had a new system on in quite some time. But you'll see that whenever you get a new system, it usually comes in this plastic holder to keep it shaped. You can see that. So what happens is this plastic cap makes a perfect, and like I said, everybody's head shape is different. So it might not work for you, but for example, for me, what I've done on this new one is that I put it on my head, and then what I do is I go and I make sure that I find where my front is with my 3 fingers, and that's where my starting point is. And then what I did was I put it on my head and had somebody draw out the outline of where my hairline is. So that way you can forego the process of doing the Saran wrap and the tape if you happen to have one of these. And then, like you can see, I've got a nice clean line that I can use to lay. Then from whenever I get this template made, then what I can do is I can, get a piece of, something to hold this shape here. And then what I will do is, and a lot of times you'll notice too that there's a little stamp on there that shows the back. This is the back, this is the front. And a lot of times too, you'll see that little thin skin that's part of the system right there that you want to cut off and make sure that you get whenever you do your template. So what I will do whenever I want to cut my hair is that I will lay this to the inside, and then that will tell me where I need to make my marks at. As you can see, it's not that hard to make a good template. Most of you guys are going to be using the Saran wrap method, so there's either to send one in to a company to make a good cut for a template for your hair system, or you're going to be trying to do DIY and do it yourself. There's just a couple of things to keep in mind when you're doing this. First, use something clear. Use a Saran wrap so that you can see through it. If you use something dark, it's hard to see that hairline, and you might, not make the template good enough. Tip number 2. Don't be afraid to, when you're using that cross method of putting the packing tape on there, put 3 or 4 different levels on there. That way it's nice and thick and you make a good, template that you can use, and then it'll stay good for a long time. And tip number 3 is, if you're doing it, make sure that you make 2. That way you've got one on hand in case something happens to it, it gets destroyed, it accidentally gets thrown away, something like that. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. This is something that we're doing to enhance our lives, not make our lives, worse. So, remember when we're doing these things, the maintenance things like that, remember that just have fun with it, and, it's just part of the process. That's like life too. A lot of these things, we end up wanting, a hair system, but we have to do all these little steps to get there. And sometimes, it's doing the little steps to get us to the end product. I'd like to thank LeVivid for sending me a hair system to test out. And that's what brings me to the next thing I'm going to bring up. Is the next video is going to be taking that template and actually cutting a new system. So stay tuned for that one. That should be fun. And remember, dare to hair.